Good morning, students. Welcome to my online class. I am your class teacher, Dr. Subhat Kumar Rath. As we are unable to take regular classes because of this COVID-19 pandemic, hence, we are directed to take online classes for your smooth study purpose. So today we will be discussing about social defense and correctional services SW404 papers unit 2 and subsection is prison. In in the earlier classes, I had talked about correction services. So today we will be discussing about the institutional form of correctional services, and in this section we will be dealing with prison. Then what is a prison? Prison are the center for reforming the criminals. But the common notion regarding this concept of prison is that prison refers to any sort of or any form of punishment. But if you will go to the Prison Act of 1894, we can find or we can see or we can reanalyze the concept something different. Prison is not meant for punishment, rather it is a correction center per se. Because the convicted in those who have committed crimes spend a definite amount of time inside a place that is called as prison, are deprived from their freedom until their sentences are over. So let's analyze what is a prison. The very English term prison is derived from its French root prison. It means what I have already told you, that a place or an institution where individuals convicted of crime spend a time period till their conviction is over. However, in Indian context, we call it as a correction institution. They are very much put under a confinement, no doubt, but the prime duty of the government is to make those convicted people and convicted people to a normal people so that they can enjoy their previous status just like other people or earlier life he used to enjoy. But there is very much interesting notion while we talk about prison comes to our mind is the concept of jail. However, a prison and a jail are two different things. Jail is the place where people go for a temporary period of time, while prison refers to a long term accommodation for the convicted. So, we must not confuse between a prison and a jail. However, both of them are the two sides of a same coin. Let's define prison. In the Prison Act of 1894, under section 3, it refers to a place used permanently or temporarily. That means it takes both the concept prison and jail into account. Under general or special order of the state government for the detention of the prisoners and include all the machinery involved in that institution. It's a building, the clerical staff, the administrative staff, everyone. It includes a confinement exclusively for the custody of the people convicted. So what you have learned from this? It is a place, confined place. That means you can't go outside that building. You are supposed to stay over there. If you are staying for a particular period, according to the depth of your criminal activity, you have to stay inside. You may not be allowed outside, to go outside. So, the Prison Act of 1894 clearly mentioned it, that any confinement meant for keeping the criminals inside is called a prison. So, if that is so, then what is the history? Whether prison is a new term or is it there in the Indian system? Indian system means Indian criminal justice system. What we call that? Whether prison system is new for us or an old one or anything different. So let's explain about the history of prison in Indian society. The Indian legal system can be divided into three phases: ancient period, medieval period, and the modern period. This is where we have to find whether there is any concept of prison prevalent Was it there or a new one? Let's explain. So, before explaining about the history of Indian legal system that deals with the criminal justice system, you have to keep in mind that the Indian legal system, beginning from its beginning from the earlier historical phase, is dominated by the religious principles. Until now, it guides us to some extent. So, it's our duty to discuss about the history of prison or the criminal justice system for correction purpose from ancient to modern period. In today's class, we will basically deal with the ancient phase and the medieval phase. Ancient phase and the medieval phase. So let's explain about the ancient phase. Prison system in India during the ancient period, as I have already told you, is primarily dominated by the religious feelings of the people. It is very much governed by the concept of karma and dandaniti. The way you perform your karma, so also your result. If you will perform wrong karma, then there will be danda. That means punishment. So, the very concept of dandaniti refers to the principles of punishment. The very concept of dandaniti refers to the principle of punishment. And it is very much explained in Manu's Code of Karma. According to him, danda was created as a derivative of dharma. That means if you will not follow or perform your duties properly or your karma properly, then you will be liable of danda. Danda refers to punishment. So, if you are performing any non-dharmic activity, that means if it is not sanctioned by the dharma, then you will be punishable or you are liable to punish. So, it would be interesting that it was a fully developed subject of study in India from the very beginning of the Indian civilization, and it is not a modern concept. I have already told you that we have to find whether this is a modern concept or a traditional concept. So, while discussing about the ancient form of punishment or ancient notion of that prison, it clearly mentioned that it is a traditional form or traditional concept also. It is not new to our Indian society, and it is very much described by Manu. So, it is simply indicates that criminology of dandaniti Criminology of Dandaniti is not a new science to the Indian society. New science to the Indian society. But it is very much familiar to the concept of our law governing agencies. Law governing agencies. It is mentioned in Smrtis. It is also mentioned in ancient Indian literature, various texts, etc. Another thing that comes to our mind is that while we look at the Manu's code of conduct, we will find that people deserve certain type of imprisonment that are based upon their karma. Quoting Manu, Brihaspati also argued that punishment must be based upon one's karma or what type of karma a person or a fellow has committed or done. If someone is performing something heinous, his punishment will differ from the other person who is performing a light. So, also the case of Kautilya. Kautilya advised that the king should award punishment which should neither be mild nor severe. So what you find? If someone is not performing dharma properly, he is liable to punishment. It is mentioned by Manu. Now, after Manu, Brihaspati told that punishment for non-performing dharma should be based upon the karma of a person, the depth of his karma, what type of karma he performed. But at the same time, Kautilya mentioned that the king, who is the supreme authority of the state, who has the capacity to punish, should not punish anybody so rigorously or so smoothly. That means he should maintain the dharmic activity properly by giving punishment to the fellows who go out of it, but not rigorously. That means it should be in a rational level. After this, during the Maurya Empire, if we will go to the Ashoka ruling period, basically 269 to 232 BC, we can find another concept of Dharma Mahamantri. It is another concept introduced by the great ruler Ashoka, Dharma Mahamantri, who is appointed or who was appointed to look after the matters of prison. To look after the matters of prison. In fact, the Hindu scriptures or the ancient form of justice system is based completely upon moral and religious grounds. And the punishment for disobedience is or was fixed accordingly. The accused person were supposed to be fined for their karma. And this fine differs. What the thing that we should keep in mind is that it is also mentioned in Smrtis, in Vedas, in various literature that those who are capable of giving fine should give fine, and those who are not capable or incapable, they should be relaxed from fine by way of doing labor works. So there is a relaxation on the ground of fine, that is economical incense. However, everyone has to face certain type of punishment according to their deeds. So people who are placed inside a confinement, that is called as karagar, sometimes they are fined, and those who are unable to give fine, they were put under that confinement. And during their confinement, they were supposed to work as a laborer. However, there is a relaxation to those prisoners. And it is very interesting that when the ruler or the king conquered a new state, he used to give relaxation to those prisoners. They were freed. Also, when there is a new prince to take bath, or at that moment also, these prisoners were imprisoned. So this is all about the ancient form of criminal justice system, mentioned as karagar, the other complementary term to prison. So now let's talk about the medieval period, or the prison system in medieval India. As you know, the medieval India is basically known as the period ruled by the Islamic rulers. So here the concept of prison or criminal justice system is different, or was different, from the earlier system or ancient system of criminal justice system. So here a concept called fiqh, F-I-K-H, fiqh, it is an Arabic term, refers to the concept or attached to the concept of prison. However, the literal meaning of fiqh is wisdom. It is derived from the Quranic law Sharia, and it is believed that when some when it works or the fiqh is imposed, it cannot be immutable by any other human institution. It is derived from two sources, the Quran and the Sunnah. It refers to the concept of or analogy of qiyas, QIYAS, that recognizes ijma, or in simple term, universal concept. That means those who are obeying the Islamic Quran or the Islamic rule Sharia commonly accept it that the Sharia or the fiqh has the authority to punish anybody, those who disobey the rules explained, and those rules are meant for those who obey Islamic religion. And it is a universal concept. That means no one can oppose that. Everyone, those who are adhering to the Islamic rule, will have to follow the rules and regulation clearly mentioned under fiqh. This fiqh has 4 types of schools. First one is the Shafite, Shafite. The second one is Hanifite, Hanifite. The third one is Malikite, and the fourth one is Hanbalites. These are the 4 schools of thought that describe or prescribe punishment under Sharia rule, and that is called as fiqh. The theory of fiqh does not recognize the non-Muslim as the citizen. This is the drawback, because during that time India represents most number of non-Muslims, basically the Hindus. So they were very much tortured by the rulers. So during that, some relaxation also given by various rulers, because it was not uniform. The punishment was not uniform. It differs from rulers to rulers. However, it includes a Qazi court, Qazi, Qazi court, who is supposed to be the judicial officer of the ruler, Islamic ruler, or the Samrat, or the king, whatever it may be, under Islamic religion. The Qazis are supposed to be known as those Qazis are supposed to be known as the directors to the king. And Kaji court deals with the civil and criminal matter. During medieval period. So what are the duties of the Qazis? They try to decide any matter that comes under their cognizance. On the basis of that, they will also execute the judgment. They will also appoint various mercenaries or the guardians who will perform or who will help the Qazis in the justice system. For example, they will decide who is a lunatic, who is a minor, or who is an adult. Also, they decide about the duties of the Waqf board, and they also deal with the matters related to Waqf property. They also supervise the Waqf properties. They also direct the Mughal Samrat regarding execution of wills, change in marriage and remarriage, change in widow system, execution of punishment as prescribed under Sharia rules or religious rules. Also, they will supervise strictly whether the Samrat's order is properly implemented or not. They also collect taxes. So, this Qazi court played an important role during the medieval Islamic rule over India. They got the authority under fiqh. However, something that comes to our mind is that imprisonment as a punishment found rarely. But they have to follow the criminal justice system on the principles of Islamic Sharia. It is described or prescribed that the punishment can be divided under three categories. Under three broad categories, such as HUD, HADD. Then second one is Qisas, QISAS, Qisas. And the third one is Ta'zib, TAZIB. According to the HUD or HADD, it is basically, or it talks about basically some aspects of human individual character, that is adultery, which is in Islamic term called as zina, Zina, for which the adulterer must be punished by stoning. That means under Sharia rule, under had, adultery is not allowed. That is not sanctioned by the Quran. That means anyone committing adultery must be punished. And what is the punishment for that? Not prison, rather stoning. That's why earlier I told you prison as a concept of punishment was rarely found. So under had, it is first stoning. The second is that if someone is found guilty, must receive 100 stripes. What is that? That means if someone is found doing any type of criminal activities, basically for fanatics, the criminal or the guilty one should be punished by coda. Coda means a chain. He will be tied and people will start beating him by the help of a chain. Also, according Hud, if someone accused someone with a false marriage, he will be perceived or taken as committing adultery. So, if he is doing like that, he will receive 8 coda, 8 stripes. That means someone promises to get married somebody but not getting married, or someone is claiming that, falsely claiming that that fellow promised me for marriage and not ready to get married. Under that circumstance, the guilty, who is found to be guilty, will be striped 8 times. And that is called as kajafi. It is very interesting that some terms you need to keep in mind while discussing about the Islamic Sharia laws or Islamic criminal justice system. Till now, there was no concept of prison. There was the concept of instant punishment. Under had, for committing adultery, stoning was the punishment. For false accusation of marriage, it was stripes. So, what will happen to a person if he has committed a robbery or he is a thief? According to the had, if someone has committed a robbery, then he will be punished by the authority by losing one hand or losing fingers or losing feet. Under HUD, there is no concept of prison. So what is about QIAS? QISAS? It literally means retaliation. Kisa means retaliation. That means the punishment is fixed by the law itself, can be remitted by the person offended against, or in the case of a murdered person, by his heirs, legal heirs. It is applicable to cases of murderers and of wounders or attempt to murder. It is a lex talliens or eye for eye, teeth for teeth. That means under KISA, which type of wrong deeds you have committed that violates the principles of the Islam. So accordingly, you have punishment. For example, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, murder for murder. That means tit for tat. You will be punished in the same manner you committed a crime. If you have murdered someone, then you will be murdered. So here again, there is no concept of prison. Instant action. Under HUD, instant punishment. Under KISA, instant punishment. No concept of prison. Now come to the third part, Tajib. What is Tajib? It is a punishment which is left to the discretion of the Qazi or judge. That means under Tajib, punishment is decided by the Qazi. Earlier we talked about Qazi court. So that Qazi, that means the judge. Under Tajib, there are two types of concepts. It is important to mention Abul Fazl, minister of Akbar, who in his rule, in his work Ain-e-Akbari, discussed about general principles of punishment. In that book, in the preface section, he has mentioned the personal character of man, or the personal character of the offender. Man here refers to the offender, that means the culprit, not all men. It refers to the person who has committed a crime, whether it is an adultery or theft or robbery or something like that, cheating, anything. However, according to Abul Fazl, those who have committed a crime or those who are the offenders can be classified into two categories. One is the inconsiderate man, and the second one is the vicious man. Inconsiderate man, or and the second one is the vicious man. Inconsiderate men, or those who come under that category of inconsiderate men, if have committed any crime or found to be fault owing to his foolishness, he should be corrected by advice. That means because of ignorance, or someone is not clever enough but has committed a crime, he should be corrected. He should be corrected fast. But if that doesn't happen, then he should be prison. Here comes the concept of prison. That means you can say, under Islamic rule, the concept of prison comes after the ruling of Akbar. However, instant action was also there. So why the concept of prison comes there? Because according to Aini Akbari, those who have committed certain types of criminal activities because of their ignorance are not supposed to or liable to be coming under instant action or hard. Rather, they should be corrected. That means they should be imprisoned. Lastly, if after imprisonment he was not corrected properly, then what would be the situation? He would have to face instant action. What type of action? Either they will lose their hand or legs or feet or fingers. Then what is about the vicious person? Vicious person vicious means severe. If somebody has committed a crime, a severe crime, he should be deprived of his dwelling. That means he will be thrown out of his house or thrown out from the state. That is called as todipar. He has to be living an exile life.